Ever had someone offer you some well-meaning advice to just be yourself? As if that's the way you just need to behave to master a new situation? Just be yourself, right? How helpful is that really? Do you take it internally as, wow, that's it. I gotta just be myself here. That's it. Focus. Be myself. I can do this. I can do this. Be myself. I got this. What you might actually be thinking though is, which version of me do I bring to this situation? You have multiple options. You have multiple selves within you. You don't just have one version of you that's the real you. And in truth, your best option is to be flexible and adaptive. You may want to bring a different version of yourself to different situations. There are some situations where it may be wisest to bring the cautious and tentative version of you. There may be other situations where it makes more sense to go all in and be fully committed. Sometimes you might want to be accepting of whatever life brings to you, and other times you might want to be the one making invitations. Instead of trying to just be yourself, some more empowering questions you could ask are, which version of me do I want to bring to this situation? Or who do I want to be in this situation? Or what kind of energy or vibe or experience do I want to have in this situation? You can actually grow a lot more in life by exploring the space of what you think is not you. So instead of trying to just be yourself, do the opposite of that sometimes and explore what you think is not you. You probably grew up with a self-concept, like many of us do, that is a bit limiting and that boxes you in and that defines you as a certain type of person. Were you told that you were shy growing up, or an introvert, or not athletic? I had the sense that I was not very athletic as a kid, and so I wanted to violate that expectation later in life. Ended up running a marathon, training in martial arts, and exercising consistently for decades. When I was younger, one of my greatest fears was public speaking. And then I got into public speaking and did a lot of that, including internationally. Getting into making videos is not something my past self would have defined as just being myself. Having romantic relationships, that's something my younger self basically ruled out as even a possibility. Exploring psychedelics is another thing my past self ruled out, or was taught to rule out, but my present self thinks of it as, why not me? Who are you not allowed to be? Are you not allowed to be spontaneous or sexy or playful? In what ways is your self-concept still limiting you? I encourage you to look beyond that. Explore and experience beyond the scope of your self-concept. Ask yourself, what is not me? But yet you may still feel some desire to explore it, but you're kind of ruling it out without even giving it a fair shot. So I encourage you, give it a chance. Actually take some time to explore and experience the space that you define as not you, not part of you, not compatible with your personality, outside the scope of your realm of experience in this life. Some of those experiences you may conclude, yeah, definitely not me, don't want to continue doing that. Absolutely fine. But others, if you give them a fair shot, you may end up concluding, this is something I actually like and I want to continue to develop myself in this way. It's helping me progress. It's helping me grow. It's changing and expanding my sense of self. And I want to add this to my repertoire. I want this to be part of my ongoing toolbox. Realize that your self-concept is imaginary to begin with. It's just a collection of thoughts. It's software, and it can be changed. You're not required to remain loyal to it. In fact, you will probably find that you can invite tremendous growth into your life if you become increasingly disloyal with your old self-concept and realize you don't have to stay clingy with it. So in this video, I want to give you permission, if you feel like you need that, to violate your old sense of self deliberately. Be very cautious about what you weave into your identity, and also challenge what has already been woven into your identity. In addition to challenging some of the old thoughts and behaviors that relate to your self-concept, you can also reject some of the vibes or the feelings that you feel that you're ready to move beyond and you no longer need. For instance, how fearful are you? How much time do you spend worrying? Do you fret over a lot of things? Do you feel anxious much of the time?
What are you getting nervous about?
Do you integrate a sense of trauma into your self-concept? Do you integrate a sense of addiction or some other kind of weakness or stressing out about things into your self-concept? Is that you? No, of course, that does not have to be you. You can challenge all of that. You can ask yourself, am I an addict? Is that me? Am I traumatized? Is that me? Is that the role I want to play in this life? Is that what I'm here to be and to experience? And if the answer is no, you can actually challenge that part of your self-image. You can actually challenge that part of your being. If it never gets challenged, it stays in place, and then you own it. But if you challenge it, you have the option to boot it out, to replace it with something else. So the idea here is not to try to be yourself, but rather to create yourself, to invent yourself or reinvent yourself. No matter what you were conditioned or trained to believe, it's all software, it's all thought, and it can be changed. Whatever it is about yourself that you were taught, this is you, but some part of you doesn't resonate with that, you can challenge that. I would probably say the number one non-resonating quality that I was taught about myself growing up is that I was supposed to be very obedient. I kicked that one out many years ago, and I'm very glad to have done so. Another aspect of myself that I learned growing up that I felt was not me was having a life rich in touch, hugs, affection, cuddles, and so on. That was probably the most difficult and challenging not me concept to invite in and to finally integrate. It took a number of years to do that. And I had to keep unfolding and peeling that onion and kicking out these other layers until I got to a more flexible space where I could start experiencing and exploring what I wanted to invite in and then finally integrating that. It was a beautiful path, but it took a number of years. I am not saying this is easy. There can be very embedded self-concepts that can be difficult to unfold, and they may have multiple layers to them, keeping them in place. All these reference experiences telling you why that must be the case. But realize it's all software, it's all memory, it's all imaginary, and you can change it. You can even take this as far as taking some of the fantasy self-concept images about how you would love to be and actually turning that into your reality. One of my favorite ways to grow in life is to take something that I was afraid to do or anxious about and not only get past the fear and anxiety over it, but also integrate it in such a way that now I actually enjoy it or I love it. What would you say would be the number one, not me, a sense that you can't be something or do something that you feel tempted, you feel a desire to finally explore, and that you would deep down love to integrate? You love to make this a rich and vivid part of your actual life, if you could. And then what would you say is your number one me to release? In other words, a part of your self-concept that you picked up environmentally, experientially. You learned it somewhere in the past, and it's being reinforced by memory. And you feel a desire to change that, to evolve it, to progress it, to maybe even kick out the old self-image and replace it with something new. Share that in the comments too. I'd love to hear that. The final key that I'll share here is to weave a sense of flexibility into your self-concept, no matter what, if you want to be able to grow and change. Because if you don't weave in flexibility, you limit your ability to gain access back to the possibility space. You limit your ability to access change and growth and evolution. You box yourself in, you cage yourself in a place of stuckness. And the less flexible you think you are, the more rigid you make yourself. But you are the one holding the keys to your cage. You are the one doing that by reinforcing that memory and by not challenging it. And you have the option to challenge that sense of self. You can challenge your self-concept. You can at least ask, do I have to be so damn rigid? Do I have to be so inflexible? Can I embrace change? Can I be flexible? Can I go from thinking of myself one way to thinking of myself another way? Yes, you can. You can change your behaviors. You can change your thinking. You can change the dominant emotions you experience. You can change the experiential lifestyle you enjoy. You can change the types of experiences you have. You can be extremely neurologically flexible. So that is one of the most important things to keep chipping away at, is your own sense of inner flexibility, especially your mental flexibility, your emotional flexibility, and your flexibility in your sense of self.